Chapter 5. Remy scanned the road from the warehouse door. It had been 2 days since he saw Ava at the mansion. He purposely led her back to the warehouse so she would know how to find him. But there was no sign of her anywhere. It was as if she'd vanished. He didn't know what to think about that. She wasn't the type of person to back down. If she said she needed something, she wouldn't stop at one altercation. So where the hell was she? Remy shook off the feeling creeping up his neck. Was she in trouble? Or was she out there waiting for him? Slamming the warehouse door closed, he stormed back inside. He felt like prey, waiting for Ava to strike, not knowing when or where. And he was on his own. David, not liking Maya having been so close to Ava, had left town with her in tow. He promised to return and help, but who knew when that would be? Rat had fled as soon as he heard what had happened. Said he wasn't getting paid enough for hunting the likes of Ava. Remy didn't care. He was better off on his own. He preferred it that way. Only, he was still in the dark, not knowing anything useful. Well, he was done waiting. There had to be someone who knew something. Studying the wall, he tried to find a spot to begin. All of his men were dead. So, who else would know anything? Who could he get to without raising a flag that he was alive? Remy snatched his keys. There was one person he could talk to without worry. An officer who recently stepped into early retirement. He might know something, and he lived only a couple of hours away. Remy trusted him. It was time Brock Remington made a reappearance.
Ava clenched her fists into tight knots. She had been so close to Brock, and now this pale-faced bastard sitting comfortably in front of her had yanked her back. She wanted to punch that placid expression right off of him.
Did you get what I asked for?
Jeremy French asked, his words as calm as his expression. Ava looked around the motel room before answering. Every time she had to meet him, it was at a shabby old motel. She knew why. If anyone was to see her, it would look as if she was meeting a lover. Please. If she was meeting a lover, it wouldn't be in a flea-bag motel with broken beds and dirty linens. You didn't give me enough time, she finally said. He raised a blonde brow.
You're slipping, my dear. When I give you a deadline, I expect it met.
You know damn well Brock trained me. He can easily avoid me when he wants to.
Don't you mean Remy?
Ava started. How did he find out? Did he already know where Remy was? A silky smile curled on his lips.
You seem to forget that I'm always watching. Did you have a pleasant stay at the Miller mansion?
His tone mocked. I was waiting.
And it seems you waited long enough. So how was our old friend?
Angry.
Well, you are a traitor,
He said, sarcasm thickening his voice. Ava's fists clenched tighter. Not even the sting of her fingernails gouging her skin did anything to relieve the resentment for the man sitting in front of her with his smug expression. With his pallid features and frigid blue eyes, he looked as if he could fade into the air had his athletic frame not defied it. But that's what he was, a faded image of his former self. She remembered him clearly. 6 years ago, he had the same light complexion, which was hellish in the brutal foreign sun. The years had not been kind to him. Heck, they hadn't been kind to any of them. He had grown cold and bitter. Through his serene facade simmered a man teetering on a cliff. If you knew I was so close, why did you pull me back? Ava questioned. I could have ended this by now.
I have another task for you.
His fingers pressed into a steeple in front of him. What could be more important than this?
A transfer will need to be made in 3 days. I need you there.
A transfer? That caught Ava's attention. She uncurled her fingers, stretching them. What kind of transfer? She asked, keeping her voice cool and steady.
Here are the coordinates,
He said, flicking an unmarked envelope. She caught it and quickly opened it. Reading the contents, she swore. If these were correct, she'd be in the Atlantic, way outside of U.S. territory. Do you have a team ready, or do I just row out there?
Sarcasm?
He questioned, but didn't seem to give it much thought as he stood. Ava scowled. It would be so easy to knock him to the floor, to plunge a knife into him. She could do it within seconds. She had never killed anyone, but he was quickly becoming a large, provoking target.
Plotting my death?
Ava glanced up to find him staring at her, assessing. A smile slid onto her lips. I wouldn't need to plot something so simple. Fury flashed across his face. It was immediately smoothed.
You know what would happen.
Ava swallowed hard. Do I have a team? She repeated, drawing the conversation back to neutral territory. This time he smiled, lighting his eyes with something that unnerved Ava.
Yes, and I think you'll enjoy it. You'll have plenty of time to reminisce with your old pal.
Who? Ava questioned, nervously watching the satisfaction grow on his face.
Brock, of course.
Ava crossed her arms. Why him? You know what he thinks of me. He already said he wouldn't help.
Then you'll have to twist his arm.
Why Brock? He shrugged.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Realization dawned. You want me to kill him after the transfer? I won't do it. She could never. What had happened to French that would make him turn on Brock?
No, he is the transfer.
I didn't expect to see you so soon.
Retired Officer Jared Boyer said, eyeing Remy from behind his screen door. How could Boyer expect to see him when Brock was dead? Remy stood silent. He wouldn't say anything until Boyer explained.
Still the quiet, stoic one?
Boyer laughed and swung the door wide open, motioning for Remy to enter. Remy stood his ground. How did you know?
I believe you asked me that same question nearly a decade ago after the rocket launcher incident. I'll tell you the same thing as I had then. I know everything.
Remy stared, flummoxed. How could he possibly know? And the rocket launcher incident was an accident. Boyer laughed again. It was deep and rich, soulful. It was as if nothing had changed.
Come on in. Miller arrived an hour ago.
David? Damn it to hell. Remy pushed through the door as Boyer stepped back, his brown eyes filled with laughter. Remy saw the same humor in David's eyes and swore. Why are you here? Remy demanded.
I guess for the same reason you're here.
I thought you were with Maya.
I was. Now I'm not.
David's impish smile had Remy clenching his jaw.
She's tucked away at my mom's house.
Remy grunted. David grinned.
Boyer was on the way home, so I thought I'd stop by for a quick chat.
Is that what you call it?
Boyer scoffed, making his way into the living room. It reminded Remy of a hunting lodge, complete with mounted trophies of various sizes. A stuffed squirrel in the corner was looking at him funny.
He's been drilling me with questions for the past hour. I haven't been interrogated this hard since my old sergeant caught me pilfering from the mess hall.
He clapped Remy on the shoulder.
It's damn good to see you. And Miller. Damn shame about the whole incident. Damn shame.
Remy gave a quick nod, not able to look into Boyer's eyes. He couldn't. The jagged guilt whenever he was around Boyer rushed back. Boyer never said much about his son Tom, who had died on Remy's watch several years before the raid. He didn't have to. Remy felt the silence more than any words could convey. But Remy wasn't here to rehash the past. Still, it was good to see Boyer, despite their turbulent history. He had always been the solid bridge over rapids, and had helped a young and brash Brock out of several scrapes. It felt good to be in his presence again.
Have a seat, let's see if we can't sort this out.
What has David told you so far? Remy asked, sitting on a worn red plaid armchair.
Not much,
David answered.
I told him about Ava and asked about the file. He knows exactly what we know.
Which is nothing, Remy sighed, running his hand over his head.
I was surprised to hear about Ava.
Boyer admitted.
She had been questioned after the attack, but no one ever thought she might be behind it. She looked pretty shell-shocked.
She had everyone fooled, Remy said.
Especially you, it seems.
Boyer said, keeping his voice light, but Remy could see the questions in his eyes. Why is she looking for me? Remy asked. Boyer shrugged.
To rekindle an old flame?
Remy shook his head. I'm more apt to believe she'd rather snuff the flame. But she asked for help.
What kind of help?
I don't know. I went to go check on David, but she escaped before I returned.
Escaped, huh?
Tore the hinges right off the frame,
David said. Boyer's lips twitched.
Never one to stay put. But what's this about checking on David?
Ava got to him first, Remy answered. David frowned.
I only held back because there were women present.
Like Ava?
No, like my wife, who happens to be pregnant.
Boyer smiled, though his eyes were dimmed.
Congrats, my friend.
He stood to walk to the kitchen nook, where he cracked open an olive-green refrigerator. After pulling out 3 bottles of beer, he returned with his haul and popped off the caps using the marred coffee table. Remy took the cold bottle offered to him and sipped the watered-down piss that Jared confused with beer. Ignoring the skunky aftertaste, Remy took another swallow and placed the foul beer on the coffee table where Boyer's large booted feet now rested.
When's the baby due?
Boyer asked, his beer half gone in one gulp.
I want to say 4 months.
David said, his brows pinched together.
You don't know?
Boyer questioned. David sighed.
I'm going to screw this poor baby up. I've already warned Maya.
Boyer chuckled. If it's your offspring, the kid didn't have a chance either way, Remy said. Have you thought about the security director job? At least if you were out of the house working, the kid might have a chance.
I will kick your ass,
David warned. Remy motioned for him to come and try.
What's this about a security director gig?
Boyer asked. I'm going to give my notice at my job, Remy explained. With Ava on the move, I'm running out of leave. Boyer scratched his stubbly wide jaw.
I'd be interested, but even in retirement I seem to have my hands full.
David kicked his feet on top of the table, mirroring Boyer.
I'm quite content with my unemployed status.
Boyer's mouth broadened into a wide smile.
Yeah, we already know you've been enjoying yourself.
Remy cleared his throat, shifting in his chair to lean forward. Can we get back to Ava? I have to find out what she's up to and where she is. For her to ask for my help, she's either stupid or desperate. We know she's not stupid, so what has her so desperate that she'd seek me out? Boyer frowned, looking down at his boots.
You know, I've always wondered what happened that day. I read the file, but I don't understand why you were the only one taken prisoner.
To be honest, I don't know. I've been trying to forget my time there, Remy admitted. But over the last few weeks, it struck me that this was planned. I think the attack was a cover, but I don't understand why.
What happened while you were imprisoned? Did they ask for information? What were their demands?
Remy clenched the beer bottle in front of him and downed the disgusting liquid. He hadn't spoken of his imprisonment, not even to David. Sure, David was the one who rescued him. David had seen Remy's condition, but he never asked what had happened, and Remy never told. Some things were better left unsaid, even 6 years after the fact. If it was David alone who was questioning his imprisonment, Remy might have answered. But with Boyer, Remy didn't want to talk. Maybe he didn't want to seem weak in his eyes. Maybe he wanted the past to stay where it was. Whatever the reason, Remy stayed silent until Boyer prodded him again.
Well?
Remy sat back, his hands white-knuckled on his knees. It's the same shit at any enemy prison, right? They starve you, beat you, torture you. Remy stopped. The pain was coming back, and it wasn't just emotional remnant bullcrap. Real physical pain seared his skin. He could feel every slash and scar as if he was reliving the experience. He breathed, pushing away the ache. He was used to flashbacks. He'd had them constantly in the beginning. But with each episode, Remy gained more control and was able to contain it quicker. The not-so-funny thing was, by the end of his imprisonment, Remy no longer felt any pain. He'd no longer felt anything at all, like his body was no longer his. It belonged to a stranger. The only thoughts in his head were of death. No body. Just a broken mind that made bargains with God, the devil, or whoever might be listening.
They also interrogate.
Boyer added, ripping Remy from his thoughts. Running his hand down over his face, scrubbing the last memory away, Remy nodded. Yes, they interrogated.
What did they ask?
Boyer slipped his feet off the table as he leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. I didn't understand them, Remy answered. None of them spoke English. Boyer frowned.
I don't get it. Why go out of your way to capture a man and then not be able to speak to him?
Remy shook his head. He often wondered the same thing. He remembered repeating, "I don't understand," until it became a mantra. But there was a word they repeated, a word Remy understood even through their butchering accents. Months after David had rescued him, Remy searched for connections to this word, if only to get it to stop echoing in his mind. But there was no ulterior mention of it in any web search, and all of his regular leads were dead ends. He even contacted linguists with Middle Eastern dialect knowledge, wondering if he had heard an Arabic word with English ears and got it all wrong. No one could give him the answer, but somehow it seemed familiar, as if it was always a part of him, as if it was permanently etched into his DNA. Venom.
To say Ava was agitated would be an understatement. In less than 3 days, she had to find Brock, get him on a plane to the East Coast, and then onto a boat. She could almost see his reaction now. If she wasn't in danger before, she definitely would be after she spoke with him. If he'd even let her speak? He wasn't too receptive the other day. Not that she blamed him. This was spiraling out of control. Rarely did she have all of the information when she started a job, but now she only knew coordinates, and that Brock was to be the transfer. She didn't like the sound of that, but she couldn't very well stop what was already set in motion. There was too much at stake. Ava had to play along and follow the breadcrumbs, but one man could tip the odds in her favor, Jared Boyer.